I would be remiss if I didn't mention a specific set of text generators in motion. So let's go to the library, to generators, and then there is an actual category of text generators, of which there are 4. Let's look at them quickly. Timecode is pretty straightforward. You apply it, and you have a running timecode. You can change everything about this that you would normally do with text. In other words, we've got a heads-up display with all the font choices. We can go to the inspector, to the text generator tab, and we've got the normal format set where we could, for instance, go and choose a fixed width font like this LCD Mono that we used before. Increase the size. And then the generator itself has some specific parameters that control what it looks like. But it's a nice just time code. Creates time code. And you can choose the format, whether it includes frames or not. You can choose the timecode base, whether it's a current project or something else specific. And then you can even add a label to it as well. And you can change the background color. So pretty straightforward, uses all the concepts we've already discussed in terms of styling and formatting text, but creates a nice timecode effect in a split second pretty much. Right away you get a nice timecode effect. The file allows you to take text and display it as one line at a time with a whole bunch of text. And I honestly, for myself, I've never had a use for this, but if you have a whole bunch of text, you can bring it in. You add this guy to your project. Let's bring it back to the beginning of the project. And basically what you do is browse for a file that you have, import that file, and it will display one line of text at a time. But again, personally, I really haven't used it, so I'm not going to spend a lot of time on it, but I do want to point out it's there in case you have some use for it. Time date is also very similar to timecode. It just puts the time and date on your project. And again, you can size it, you can change the font, anything you want. What's interesting about this guy a little bit is that under the generator, you can choose to set the current time or set it to any time you want, or you can keyframe the time. So this is kind of cool because if you have a video clip that runs over a specific date range, you can set keyframes for the beginning and ending dates by using the keyframe here. So at the beginning of this project, I can set a keyframe and I could change this date to something else. I'll leave it where it is now, but then I'll move later in time and I'll change it to say, let's say 12/31. You just type in the values you want. And let's say 00. And by doing that, I now have an animation that will animate between 2 very specific dates. So that can actually be quite handy. I like this little text generator here. Other option is whether you want to show seconds. You don't need to show seconds or minutes. You can choose exactly how much is displayed, how it's displayed, the time format. You can do a very short one that just doesn't show all the detail. And the date format can spell everything out. So definitely has its place. Even has a region that you can set for different regions, different countries. Okay, the last one is actually the one I find the most useful, which is the numbers generator. So we'll apply that. And the reason I like to use this is for creating a countdown. So by default, it's animated and immediately counts up. But you have a great deal of control, and if you ever needed to create a countdown, this is the way to do it for sure. So if we go to the inspector, the text generator, it's animated by default and has starting and ending values. So if you know you wanted a countdown from 100, all you need to do is set the starting value of 100 and the ending value of 0. And then it will play for whatever duration it is. Let's make it a little shorter. Let's just have it go to there. I'll set a play range out point. And now it'll count down from 100 to 0. With any font you want, styled any way you want, just a quick and easy countdown. You can also include decimals, as many as you want. And if you have large numbers, for instance, if we're going to start, let's start with 10,000, you can choose whether or not you want a comma separator in that. I also like the random part of it because it creates random numbers over the range that you choose. So for me, that moves a little too fast. So what I like to do is use this random hold frame and crank that up. Not quite so much. And you can just have random animating numbers. What's kind of cool about this is you can replicate that. So if I hit L for the replicator, I can create a whole bunch of random animating numbers. And in the replicator, there's a random start frame checkbox, so every number is truly different from every other one. So a quick way to create a field of random animating numbers. I'll delete that. So the numbers generator is super useful. You can use it with replicators, you can use it with particle emitters. And one more thing I'll show you on this, I don't want to animate it now, but I just want to show you value. So I'll say, oh, it's a value of 100. Oops. Select it. I'll give it a value, let's say, of 39. But what you can do here is have it represent currency. So in the format, you can choose all kind of scientific representations, binary, hexadecimal representations, but there's also currency. So if you're ever needed to include currency in a project, it'll choose any state you want. It does the United States by default, but you can go to any country you want and get the currency, and it'll translate that currency. So we could look at, Esperanto, and it'll change. That wasn't very interesting. Let's find a different one. It's a very, very, very long list. Japanese, Japan. So we'll look at yen. So it gives you yen. So it'll give you the symbol for that country. So very easy to create currency in any country that you want. So quick tour, but very important to be aware of the possibilities in the text generators in motion.